Hello and greetings everyone. My name is Dr. Glenn Waila. I'm a senior lecturer at the School of Geosciences here at Wits University. Myself and Dr. Grant Bybee, who's going to be speaking later on, are going to be the MCs of today's event. Firstly, I'd like to thank all of you for joining us on this exciting virtual event. It is an honor to actually share this platform online with all of you, so the timing couldn't be more perfect. You are really going to enjoy the time that you spend with us. The session is not going to be too long, but it's going to be impactful on the items that we're going to cover. We are going to mainly share with you some of the most important aspects of pursuing a career in geo and paleo sciences. So allow me to briefly give you an overview of these two disciplines that we're going to be talking about, the showcasing today. So the word geo means earth, and it's actually derived from a Latin word called geologia, which means the study of earthly things. And this was actually derived originally from a Greek word, geo plus logia, whereas on the other side, paleo means old or ancient. So if you combine these two words, what you will notice, or you will soon realize, that geologists actually study the earth itself to better understand how the physical processes, chemical components, and biological components of the earth interact with each other in a particular system. And this actually assists many geologists to recover natural resources from it, to understand where the earth comes from and how it was formed, and some of the useful material that we can actually find out from the planet itself. And in addition to this, which one of the expert in the panel will also speak about, it also helps us to predict how events and processes of the past may be useful or may influence the future. And now if we look at paleo scientists, you will notice that they mainly study the origin of species using cutting-edge research techniques that helps them to understand the unique fossil and archaeological record that we have in our planet, not only within the Africa or South African's context. And in addition to this, you may be wondering, what if actually in your high school you are mainly majoring in physical sciences, life sciences, mathematics, computer application technology, and electrical technology? How is this going to assist you if you were to choose a career in geosciences or paleosciences? The answer is quite simple. Myself, I just happen to hold both geosciences and engineering degrees, and I have worked in various industries, but it didn't take me long to actually realize that there's only two disciplines that one can actually apply a number of the courses and subjects that you are studying in high school. And these two disciplines are mainly geosciences and paleosciences, because they enable you to apply or to utilize all the mathematics, the chemistry, the physics, the life sciences, to actually understand more of the processes and the earth itself in detail. So I will speak more later on, but for now, I would like to hand over to my head of school, or our head of school, Professor Gillian Drennan, who will actually give you a brief introduction, and this will enable us to kick off the session.
Hello, everyone. I am Professor Jill Drennan, the head of the School of Geosciences. And again, welcome to this event. The School of Geosciences is one of the oldest entities within the university. It was established as long ago as 1904, and it is the first ever geology department that served the original School of Mines in Kimberley, just when we had the first diamond rush. And once that rush was over and gold was discovered in Gauteng and Limpopo, the School of Mines and the Department of Geology moved to Johannesburg, forming the basis of what was to become Wits University. So really, we were there at the birth of the university. Since then, the department has continued to play a leading role in training professionals that contribute directly to the economy of the country in as environmentally friendly a manner as possible. And we have grown in the past 116 years to become the multidisciplinary international School of Geosciences. The School of Geosciences is committed to providing all students and staff with a distinctly and intellectually challenging and rewarding education and research experience. And we do this, as we do this, we continue to build on our established record of multidisciplinary research, and we use this research to inform our teaching. Devised based on the findings of our cutting-edge research and our multinational collaborations. This gives our students the edge. This gives us our students the edge when applying for jobs. It makes our students preferred over other students, and that is something really important to consider. We are committed to transformation, and right now more than 50% of our students are in fact females. And I am proud to be the very first female head of school in the 116 years of our existence. So what makes us unique? I'm going to give you 11 things just to think along briefly. The first, of course, is that we are the oldest department of geology in the country, and we have a very strong and excellent work and track record with the most number of graduates in the country, and many of our graduates have gone on to sit on important boards, to head up important mining and exploration companies, and to work at, and head up many of our government agencies, such as the Council for Geosciences, as an example. Others have taken up lectureships in other universities around the country, and many of our graduates have started their very own private consultancy companies. The second important thing is that we've maintained a Tier 1 ranking for our teaching entity, as a teaching entity, and that we are ranked based on criteria that the Minerals Education Trust Fund have established. And we, from the inception, have been one of the top universities, and we have remained a Tier 1 ranking teaching institution. Thirdly, we're in the top 150 universities around the world. This is a global ranking. The QS ranking is a global ranking, and we fall within the top 150 of these universities. Our fourth important thing is we are a host to the Department of Science and Technology and the National Research Foundation's Chair of Exploration, Earthquake, and Mining Seismicity. Now, with all the activity, all the seismic activity that's happened in the past week, this is a real exciting time to be involved in that Center of Excellence. We also co-host the Center of Excellence in Integrated Mineral and Energy Resource Analysis. We call that CHIMERA. We are linked to the DST and NRF Center of Excellence in Paleo Sciences, and I'm sure that Marion Bamford, the head of ESI, will speak to you about that in a few minutes. Our seventh important aspect is that we have a very wide African footprint through CHIMERA and through our association with WAXI, which stands for the West African Exploration Initiative, and of course also through our Africa Array program, which is a geophysics capacity development program in Africa. And eighth, our researchers participate in very high-profile international blue sky and applied research projects, such as the International Continental Scientific Drilling Program, or the ICPD program, which is a multinational program to further and to fund geosciences in the field of continental scientific drilling. And this is important because it's a critical tool for us to understand the Earth's processes and internal structure. And it provides direct direct insight into the Earth's processes, and critically, it allows us to test our geological models. We also have the Deep Seismic program, our Deep Seismicity program, that investigates earthquakes deep down in our gold mines. And we have partnerships with our Japanese collaborators in Japan. They too are very interested in deep earthquakes, but that's because they have to protect themselves from tsunamis. Number 9, we are the first institution globally to be awarded remote access to the secondary iron mass spectrometer, which is housed at the GFZ institution in Potsdam in Germany. Our core focus is on our relevance in service to the nation and to the continent's needs. And then finally, our 11th important thing to note is that we are the only training facility to offer postgraduate degrees in geophysics and in paleontology. And I'm going to hand over now to Marion Bamford, Professor Marion Bamford, who heads up the ESI.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. And thank you for joining us in our webinar to tell you about the wonderful things and opportunities that we have. I'm sure you're all familiar with the strange reptiles and dinosaurs, such as T-Rex and Bradysaurus, from movies such as Jurassic Park, or from serious documentaries about the lifestyles of fossils, or even the more trivial cartoons and drawings. Nonetheless, dinosaurs are very popular. But did you know that South Africa has its own rich and amazing collection of various fossils? For example, when you drive through the boring and flat Karoo landscape in the Free State and the Cape Province, just look out for the fossil bones eroding out of the rocks that form those large flat-topped hills between the enormous valleys. That is where you will find some of the early reptiles and examples of these ancient and interesting animals. South Africa has some of the earliest forms of life, starting off with the simple single-celled bacterian algae. They're extremely important for the origin of life and the atmosphere that we know. And these occur in some of the interesting geological deposits in the northeastern part of the country around Barberton. We also have some of the earliest fish and reptiles in the Karoo deposits, and also early dinosaurs in the rocks around Clarence and Elliot in the Free State. And spread all over the country, we have plants, fossil plants, and enormous deposits of coal. And you all know how important coal is for us to keep running in this country and have electricity. Clean or not clean, that's something else that needs to be discussed, but nonetheless, we still use coal to a large extent, and this is a compaction of fossil plants. And then in much younger deposits, we have some extinct mammals, some very large mammals, and the early hominids. And these are close by in the Sterkfontein Valley. So this area is now called the cradle of humankind, and a lot of research projects run by our institute occur there. You've probably heard of Littlefoot and Mrs. Ples in the news items. So the Evolutionary Studies Institute at Wits University is the only institute of its kind on the continent, and the only one in our universities. Other universities in South Africa will teach a little bit of paleontology, but we have the whole range here at Wits. So it is the best place to study fossils. We have a small team of internationally famous paleontologists who have been trained in other parts of the world and are training South Africans through lectures and postgrad projects to become paleontologists in their own right here in South Africa. Many foreigners come to visit us just to see our fossils. So why shouldn't we be studying the fossils ourselves? So we study the fossils together with the geology of the deposits, because this is important in understanding the earth processes, as Glenn mentioned right at the beginning. The understanding of biology and fossils, evolution, that's all critical to understanding how the whole system works. And more recently, we've applied this to climate change. Microfossils are used in coal and oil exploration. And in the fossil record, the occurrence, the death, the mass extinctions of the plants and animals, plus how they recover after these mass extinctions and what new forms evolve, These are key in understanding the impact of global warming and climate change. And you're all well aware of how important climate change impacts on us from day to day. So we would like to look forward to answering some of your questions later in this webinar, and there will be more information in the video. Thank you.
So the section that we are going to now, it's one of the most exciting one as part of this platform. We are going to share with you a very brief but very informative video, which is going to show you some of the work that we do within our school, and also what is the impact. And you'll also hear firsthand from the people who are working in a number of research projects as our students, and also to see some of our high-tech research equipment.
I'm currently doing my honors in geophysics. Being part of the geoscience family has been great. I mean, there's so much I could say, but what I'm grateful for the most is the support I constantly receive from the staff, my fellow classmates, the mentorship programs, and also the career expos arranged for us as students. I mean, that's how I got to know about geophysics in the first place. I went from being lazy to enjoying field trips. Well, don't let my supervisor know about that part. What I'm trying to say is that in my journey of becoming a geoscientist at Geosciences, I've grown so much in terms of self-development, and I look forward to discovering what I've chosen as my career path has in store for me. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Pisoa. I'm a postgraduate student in the School of Geosciences at Wits University. The depth of experience the school has shared with me is priceless and unforgettable. With the help of the Wits community, I've managed to extend my networks, creating bonds of respect, friendship, and gratitude as I build on my reserve of knowledge.
Hi. One of the most exciting experiences that I've had with the Wits School of Geosciences is having to learn by seeing and not just imagining. And that is by applying the theoretical knowledge that we've acquired in class during our academic field trips.
Hi, I'm Joshua. I'm a third-year student at Wits. A great thing I found studying at Wits is on top of the excellent staff and facilities, we're also encouraged to engage with people in industry and in academia, which opens up lots of opportunities after we study, which has really been brilliant.
Hi everyone, I'm a master's candidate with the School of Geosciences at Wits University, and from day one as a student until now, it's been a fascinating journey. Not only is the coursework and field trips amazing and exciting, but we also have weekly talks where industry gurus, academics, as well as students share what they're currently doing so we can learn from each other. So yes, it's a thumbs up for me.
Hi, my name is Nebu Zukubu, and I'm a first-year PhD candidate at the Wits School of Geosciences. Ever since I joined the Wits School of Geosciences, my interpersonal and technical skills have greatly improved, as it is an environment that stimulates innovative thinking, critical decision-making, and problem-solving. Ethical research and academic writing are key fundamental skills I have acquired in my time in the School of Geosciences, and I would consider this invaluable opportunity as a stepping stone towards fostering a diligent professional that would lead future projects.
Hi, I'm Kulegane, doing a PhD in the School of Geosciences. Wow, my experience has been amazing in the school. For the past 6 years, I've been surrounded by experts in different fields of geosciences, and they've all managed to change the way I view the Earth and how I understand. And I've been gathering valuable skills that are scarce in Africa.
Wow, what a video and showcasing some of the things that we do at our school. And what you'll have noticed is that our work enables us to work in the office and to also work outdoors. But not only that, we have a huge diversity of students. We have much exposure on a number of things that you will not see unless if you are part of what we do. So the person who's going now to take over the session is Dr. Grant Bybee, who is a senior lecturer and the deputy head of school at the School of Geosciences. He's going to assist with facilitating the questions and answer session. So feel free to keep on asking questions. We're here to give you more details in these two disciplines.
Thank you so much, Glenn. That was fantastic. So we've come to the part of the program today where it's all about you, the audience, and we want to hear from you. You've got a chance now to ask us any important questions, and we've seen a whole bunch of questions coming through already. So if you'd like to ask a question, the best way to do that is to type it into the Q&A bar that you'll find at the bottom of the screen, and we will either type the answer out to you or we'll address some of them in this session right now live. And there's a whole bunch of questions that have come through already. So I'm going to read some of those questions out and ask some of the specialists from the School of Geosciences and the Evolutionary Studies Institute to answer those questions. And these are really experts in the particular fields that you've asked questions about. So let's have a look at the Q&A bar here. I see a very important question, or several questions about careers in geosciences. And I'm going to start off with a question about what careers can you follow after studying geology or geochemistry. And I think the best person to speak to that is going to be Glenn. So Glenn, I'm going to throw it back to you and ask you to answer that question.
Thanks a lot, Grant. So the discipline of geosciences offers many career opportunities. I will list a few of them and then I will discuss one in specific details. I will discuss the geochemist part, but some of them, just to list a few, you have seen some of them in the video itself. So you can become a geochemist, dealing with a number of chemistry combined with rocks and the earth and water, among many things of which I will speak of. You can also become a geophysicist, and we have a very nice lab, which you have also seen as part of the video, and there will be some of the experts who are going to speak more into that. The other one, you can become a geoscientist, meaning that you are not subscribing to just one particular field of specialty, but you cover a whole lot of earth science related activities. Then now, since a lot of construction is happening in our country, not only locally, but also internationally, you can also become a geotechnical engineer, which is also another very good discipline that you can fall into. And then the most exciting one is actually becoming a consulting geologist, because as a consulting geologist, you deal with a diversity of topics from minerals going into different systems. And this can also include working for a particular mining environment or working for a particular consulting firm, and large consulting firms, including auditing firms such as Deloitte, Ernst & Young, KPMG, among many of them. And then one of the most important one, you can also become a hydrogeologist, meaning you deal a lot with water-related activities, and some of our experts are going to speak about this. And you can also become a researcher or a medical geologist. So imagine that, being a medical geologist dealing with aspects of medicine in geology. And then some related careers, by just having a geology degree that you can also qualify for. You can also become an environmental consultant. You can also form part of sustainability consulting experts, or also you can become a mineral surveyor or an environmental engineer. So you can see that there's a diversity of things that you can fall into. But I will just spend 1 more minute to speak about being a geochemist or having a career in geochemistry. So most of you have done some chemistry at some point of your life. And one of the clips in the video did showcase a cell phone that many of us are using, and also TV screens, including the laptops or computers that you are watching this video from. So these are made out of elements. So geochemists actually use physical and organic chemistry to study the composition of elements found in groundwater, such as water from the wells or aquifers, and earth materials such as rocks and sediments. So one of the most exciting careers with this is that you can couple this not only with the chemistry, but the mathematics. And one of the questions did come in here that asks, what do we do with all the math that we're doing? Well, you are actually in the right discipline, because as a geochemist and a geoscientist, mathematics plays a critical role, including chemistry, in what we do. Firstly, whenever there has to be a mining that has to be started, a geochemist has to actually go on a site and take a number of samples, bring them back to the lab, and look at the potential of mineralization that they can find. But not only that, when we're looking at sites that have been heavily contaminated, a geochemist is the one that goes into sites and ensure that they understand the composition of the elements that are classified as either toxic or non-toxic components. In addition to this, you build a lot of complex models, and models, some of them include for evaluation of mineral deposits, meaning understanding how much is yet to be mined and how much will still be mined in the next number of years. The other thing is you also do a lot of forecasting of metals, meaning you utilize your skills of mathematics and geochemistry to project how long are we still going to be mining gold in South Africa? How long are we still going to be mining platinum? Or some of the critical metals such as cobalt. How long do we still have them, and where can we use them? Then in addition to this, you can also apply your mathematical and chemistry skills to do simulations. So we do a lot of reality simulation, and we're now in an era of fourth industrial revolution. So your skills in mathematics and physics couldn't have come again at the right time, because this is an era where computational modeling combined with fundamental chemistry and fundamental mathematics and applied mathematics as well comes into play, where you can simulate reality, you can predict things before they happen, and they enable you to actually venture into a number of careers, both within the mining environment, within the community environment, within the sustainability realm, and also looking at our valuable ecosystems.
Glenn, thank you so much. That was a fantastic answer. We've got another question here about another important field in geosciences, and that's geophysics. What careers can you follow after studying geophysics? And I'd like to introduce Professor Susan Webb, who is a geophysicist in our department, and I think she's perfectly suited to answer that question about careers in geoscience. Over to you, Sue.
Thank you so much, Grant. That's fantastic. I just want to quickly state what geophysics is. And that's the application of physics to the study of the Earth. So things like the magnetic field of the Earth and the gravity field of the Earth are some of the fields we use to study it. And some of the careers you can have would be things like earthquake and mine seismology. So just even last week, we had on September 26th, we had, or 25th, we had 2 earthquakes, which were very confusing in the press, because there was this big one that was offshore and this little one that was close to Durbanville. And so studying those earthquakes is really important to understand how the Earth works. And then in mine seismology, we had an event just yesterday that is recorded. And you can go to the Council for Geoscience and look at their website, and they actually have these seismic events on their website. They go up fairly soon after they happen. Another career option is exploration geophysics. Okay, and this is generally thought of in South Africa as looking for minerals, but there's also oil and gas. There's been a big gas discovery off the south coast of South Africa, and it's important to understand what these resources are and where they're located. And again, the council is starting a whole big program about getting baseline data And many of our students are involved in collecting that baseline data so that the country has a solid base from which to build its exploration from. Another is airborne geophysics. This is really exciting, where you take from drones to helicopters to airplanes. There's even been zeppelins involved in airborne geophysics, and even satellites are used to collect data, geophysical data on the Earth with airborne geophysics. Also, people are very interested in environmental geophysics. Acid mine drainage is one of the big ongoing problems we have in this country, and we can use geophysical methods to monitor the acid mine drainage and also explore for groundwater. So we use geophysical methods such as resistivity and magnetics to study, to look for different sources of groundwater. For the people that don't like the field work, and there's always some people that don't like field work, there's also software, equipment, software and equipment development. And computational geophysics is a big field where we develop new algorithms that we use to analyze our complex data sets. The large data sets that are generated by these ginormous seismic ships have led to massive developments, for example, in data compression algorithms that are applied all over the world. Another career opportunity to study is glaciology and climate science and marine geophysics. And in fact, we are looking to expand again and go back to Antarctica and collect more geophysical data in Antarctica. So that's a big project we hope to get going. And another career option is academia. We only have one geophysics program in this whole country. Let's expand that and get a geophysicist in every university. So for example, Prof. Muzamanzi is one of our newest people, and Dr. Stephanie Scheiber, who has joined us recently. So these are career options that you can think about. Some of the companies people work for would be companies like SRK, Anglo-American, PetroSA, De Beers, CSIR, Sasol, the Council for Geoscience. There's many consulting companies, Fugro. There's a ton of, and also engineering companies. So I hope that gives you a very quick overview. I wanted to point out this image behind me is an image of the magnetic data of the Vredefort impact structure. So that's a geophysical test site, airborne geophysical test site that we're currently working on. So please feel free to ask more questions in the Q&A, and I will get back to you on there. Thank you.
Thank you, Sue. That's fantastic. Another question I've seen lots of people asking in the Q&A, so we'll answer this live, is about careers in paleo sciences. And I'm going to ask Julian, who is a lecturer in the Evolutionary Studies Institute, to answer that question. Julian, would you like to come on and address careers in paleo sciences for us, please?
Yes, of course. Sorry, I cannot activate my video for some reason, but okay, thank you. So, hi everyone. So, my name is Julian. I am a paleontologist at Wits, and so the careers that you can do in paleontology, well, the main field is research, of course, so an academic career. And there is a lot of opportunity here in South Africa to study fossils, exciting South African fossils. So here in South Africa, there's a large fossil record of dinosaurs. There are dinosaurs that are found here in this country. Of course, there's some groundbreaking research being done on hominids and other fields like evolution of plants, the evolution of mammals, the evolution of invertebrates. All of these can be fields of study that are fields of studies that are currently undertaken in South Africa by South African researchers and researchers like me who are based in South Africa. And the other main outcome at the end of paleontology studies is working in a museum, either as a curator of the collections or again as a researcher. And there are a large number of museums here in South Africa that employ paleontologists. such as the Isiko Museum in Cape Town, the National Museum in Bloemfontein, and the Dinsong Museum in Pretoria, for example. And one last career opportunity, is to become a private consultant for PIA. So what is a PIA? It's paleontological impact assessment. So every time there is a road building or any type of construction work that is undertaken in South Africa, first there is a paleontologist who has to come and check if there is no fossils of scientific value, of heritage value, that's going to be destroyed by the construction work. So, and these paleontologists are paid to consult with the industries before any type of building like this. So these are the three main outcomes of out of a paleontology degree. And of course, when you study paleontology, you will learn a lot of transferable skills that will enable you to shift to other fields of study if you think you're going to be lucky there, such as archaeology, geography, and geology and biostratigraphy, for example.
Thank you so much, Julian. That's fantastic. And here's a really important question, actually, that I'm going to ask Dr. Zubair Jinnah to answer. And it's really important because geology and paleoscience aren't subjects that you experience at high school. And so someone has asked, how is geology or geosciences different from geography? So Zubair, would you like to answer that question, please?
Yes. So, geology deals with the history and the formation of the Earth. And there will be some overlap with geography, but there'll also be overlap with other sciences. You may already have started to glean that geology overlaps with chemistry and physics and even mathematics. And so geology overlaps with many other sciences, even biology when it comes to things like paleontology. And so in geology, most of the information that we glean about Earth's history is taken from the rock record. And when we look at rocks, we can apply chemistry to them and do geochemical approaches. We can also do geophysical approaches. We can look at fossilized life forms, fossils of dinosaurs and other organisms, and apply biological approaches. And we can also look at surface processes and how they've changed through time and do geographic approaches. And so you can see that geology overlaps with many other sciences, and it's possible to be multidisciplinary in this field. To zoom in on geology and geography and where they overlap, in studying the surface of the Earth, where sedimentary rocks form, there is some overlap between physical geography, fields like geomorphology, and sedimentary geology. But geology also deals with the interior of the Earth. And so the mantle and the core and the deeper crust are mostly studied by geological and geophysical approaches. And so that would not be covered in geography. In terms of jobs, geologists who work in the minerals exploration industry looking for important and valuable minerals, things like gold, diamonds, base metals, rare earth elements, all sorts of things, they would have a geological background. Also oil and gas and energy resources. These are people that would have a geological background. And all of that said, there is a lot of potential for people who study geology and geography as dual subjects, so as co-majors. And that can be a very powerful combination if you're interested in geological and geographic mapping, geographic information systems, GIS, and also environmental geology. So in those fields, a combination of geology and geography can be very valuable. So that's the difference between geology and geography.
Great, thank you, Zubair. The next question is also a very important one because commonly there's some misconceptions about what careers you can do as a geologist. And so I've seen this question come up a lot. And the question is, if I study to become a geologist or a geoscientist, does that mean that I have to work on a mine? And I'm going to call on Dr. Asinia Chipabudze to answer that question for us.
Thanks, Grant. That's quite an interesting question. Many people have come to identify a geologist with a mines, and I actually think that a character in one of the plays, Isidingo, I'm sure most of them will can identify with it, is what made this geologist linked to a mines much more popular within the context of South Africa. So to answer your question in a simple way, the answer is a simple no. You don't have to work in a mine, or a degree in geosciences does not mean that you have to work in the mines. There are several options that a geologist degree can be applied, or where you can work as a geologist. I'll just mention a few here. Most of my colleagues have mentioned some. You can work in exploration, and this is where, as a geologist, you'll be involved in finding new mineral concentrations that can be developed into mines. If you love the outdoors, you love problem solving, and you love the use of technology, this is what you really want to do. Even if you're an indoors person, there's something for you to do in exploration. Like Sue Webb indicated, exploration also involves exploration for oil and gas, and you do need a geology degree for you to be involved in this field. You can work in a civil engineering environment, and this you can do as an engineering geologist, or you can do as a consultant geologist. This is where, as a geologist, you want to make sure that whatever geological factors are there are taken into consideration during the planning process of the structure which needs to be built, and during the construction process. I mean, Julian have mentioned the fact that the geology degree and in paleontology, you can work in a museum, and this is where you can end up as a museum curator. And someone also mentioned the fact that you can go into academia as a teacher or as a researcher. And the other one is you can work in a lab as a geochemist. You don't necessarily have to end up in a mine. I mean, these are just some of the few examples where the geology degree is needed, which is outside of the mining environment or a mine as such. There are so many other options that you can choose from, and I hope you keep in contact with us so that we can give you a bit more in terms of the available options. Thank you, Grant.
Wonderful, Asinia. The next question is an important one from Mariska, and that is about the fourth industrial revolution, which is a very hot topic at the moment. And I'm going to ask Dr. Linda Iakeri to answer this question. And it relates to what high-tech equipment or 4IR technologies might I be exposed to as a student in geosciences? Over to you, Linda.
Thank you, Grant. Yes, a very interesting question. I'm glad it came up. The Earth is a big system. I hope that you can see me. And you can look at the Earth from the space, and you can use satellite images and look at the surface of the Earth and monitor the structure. Actually, through the satellite images, you can also look out into the space, because when you are going to get to know the Earth, there may be all the information that you are going to gain. You can also apply to the other planets in the solar system. As Zubair mentioned, actually, geology is a very multidisciplinary approach. But going to the satellite, okay, you can look at the surface of the Earth, and then eventually you have to go into the field if you want to gain more information on what is outcropping. And sometimes geologists, they go out, they can map rocks and see which kind of rock. And in the past, they were making beautiful handmade analog map. Now you can go in the field and have a pad and right away type all the information about the rock that you see. You have also a portable XRF machine that is like a little gun. You can shoot on the rock, and on the spot, you can have the chemical composition of the rock. And this information, since they are on a pad, you can send directly into the office where your colleague can start to work on this data while you are still in the field. But the Earth is not only the surface, it's not only the atmosphere, it's actually the inside of the Earth. And the diameter is thousands of kilometers, and we cannot really reach into the depth ourselves. We can drill. We heard that there is a major drilling program. So the drilling program is just when a very sophisticated engineering machine is drilling and making a hole into the ground and take out on the surface samples. So you can see what is outcropping below your feet. But these drilling programs are usually only hundreds of meters. The Earth is much deeper, so we need to use indirect ways to understand what is the structure of the Earth. And Sue before was mentioning about geophysics, that is using the property of rocks to study the interior of the Earth. We heard about earthquakes. Some rocks are hard, some rocks are soft, and they are going to delay or accelerate the arrival of the waves, and in this way you can make map of the interior of the Earth just because of the velocity of the waves of the earthquake. Rocks are also sometimes magnetic, and so you can make maps from magnetic property of the rocks, and you can see if at depth in an area that you cannot reach, there are rocks that are more or less magnetic. And rocks are also conducive for electricity. So if you are putting electricity in the ground, eventually you can also map and discover what is below your feet using these physical properties. And then there is another field that we spoke about, and especially Glenn mentioned, is geochemistry. That is a field that is in geology, but is also overlapping with the chemistry, where you are going to use the chemical properties of a rock. And what is this? The rock is made of minerals. The minerals is the building blocks of a rock. So if you want to see in specific what a rock is made of, we saw in the video that they are cutting the rocks and making very thin layer, and you can look at the rocks through a microscope and eventually identify all the single mineral that the rock is formed. And this is going to give you an information where the rock formed, if it were deep in the earth or more on the surface. But the building block of a mineral are actually elements. And so you can do a chemical analysis of this element. And in particular, the elements are going to give you some information again, how deep is the rock formed, or there are some elements that are in very small concentration. We call them trace elements. And these elements are going to tell you what actually happened to this rock, what was before the rocks. And in particular, we have a very sophisticated lab. It's a very clean lab. There is, before in the video, there was Kulokani that has an overall and a mask, because the lab is without dust, it's super clean. And in that you can have measured the concentration of very tiny mineral or very tiny element in very small concentration. This gives you the idea of older rocks. So when the mountain formed, how the mountain formed, did the melt was much deep, and what was melting. So these are information to understand how the earth evolved, how the continent grew with time, and eventually what is going to happen in the future. Thank you.
Thanks, Linda, for that very comprehensive answer. Another very important question that I think I'm going to ask Nonkusela Madlakana to answer is, what is it like to be a postgrad? So once you've finished your BSc honors degree in geosciences or paleosciences, you have the option to study further and discover new scientific ideas and principles and do really cool research. And so let's hear from Nonku about what it's like to be a postgraduate.
Thank you, Grant. I'm happy that this question came up. Sorry, I couldn't put my video. Okay, so being part of the postgrad program at Wits University is a very exciting opportunity. This is not only because it affords the students the opportunity to use their high-tech instrumentation so that they can fulfill their intellectual curiosity, as well as to meet their research objectives, but also the privilege of interacting with the world class researchers as well as the industrial partners in platforms such as the weekly seminar that are conducted at Wits that are live on Facebook and YouTube, where students they can share their ideas and get some guidance from the world-class researchers. So I think it will be better for students if they want to immerse themselves and also to choose any of the programs that are offered in geology to understand it further, to not only end in their science degree, but also to pursue their postgrad research. So I think it is very important to be part of the postgrad program. Thank you, Grant.
Wonderful, Nonku. Here is a very topical question that comes from someone in the audience about water, which geoscientists can contribute to dramatically. So water availability in my hometown is a big issue. Can I contribute to solving this problem through geosciences? And I'm going to start off by asking Khuliso Masindi to answer that question, and then we're going to ask Tamiro Abia to talk about careers in hydrogeology. Over to you, Khuliso.
Thank you, Grant. Before I start, I would like to point out that I'm a hydrogeologist, as you have already mentioned, and hydrogeology is a sub-discipline of geology that deals with the distribution and movement of water in soils and rocks. And it's one of the sub-disciplines where there are plenty of employment opportunities, both in the private and public sector, simply because there's no replacement of water. We all need water to survive. But now to answer your question, by pursuing a career in hydrogeology, you will be able to solve water availability issues or problems, not only in your community, but in the country at large. As hydrogeologists, we use various tools and techniques, such as satellites, drones, computer models, and high-tech equipment to search for water and assess its quality and to extract the water so that it's easily accessible to the community. But we also make sure that there is a proper management of that water. And on a last note, water availability is a global challenge and among the core challenges for the geosciences today. And it will remain relevant in the future as long as men exist, because as men, our body is actually made up of 60% of water. So I look forward to seeing you, and please feel free to contact us and we'll be able to answer to any of your questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Khuliso. That is a great answer and a very important topic in geosciences. We have one last question. We're running a little bit behind time, but there's been so many really fascinating questions from you that we're going to have one more question. And this is from a question that says, I love maths and physical science. Can I combine these subjects with geosciences? And I think a really good person to answer that question is Michael Westgate, who is a postdoctoral fellow in our school and a geophysicist. So over to you, Michael.
Thank you, Grant. Yes, that's a great question. And it's actually a question that led me into the field that I'm studying now, which is geophysics. And I think, it's been brought up quite a lot by Sue and others. It's basically applying maths and physics to the Earth, to the study of the Earth, and figuring out like different properties of the Earth using maths and physics. And it's quite a nice overlap of physics, maths, and engineering and geosciences. And it has a plethora of skills that you learn that includes programming, applied maths, and so on. And so we look at various physical phenomena as they manifest in the Earth. So if, for example, we look at the way in which waves travel through the Earth, mechanical waves. We look at how the magnetic field of the Earth changes, both on a big scale and on a local scale. We also look at the gravitational field. We can even pump current into the ground and use that to investigate the rocks and how they conduct electricity. And so there are quite a few uses for this. As was mentioned, we use geophysics to explore for different minerals. We look for gold and copper and so forth. We can also use it to look at deep earth structures. Geophysics is the primary reason we know that there's a core in the earth. As was mentioned, we can also look at water, looking for different water sources and combating droughts. There's earthquake monitoring. We look at how earthquakes move through the earth and how it can affect or damage infrastructure and how we can mitigate that. So there's quite a few fields in which we can apply maths and physics to the study of the earth, and that's where geophysics comes in. It is, I believe, a beautiful field because I think maths is a beautiful language in which to look at the earth. And not only the earth, but we can even look outwards to other planets and investigate their properties from a remote distance. And so just like a doctor will investigate someone's body using x-rays, we tend to investigate the earth and other planets using similar remote technologies. Thanks, Grant.
Thank you, Michael. That was a really illustrative answer. Thank you. So we've come to the end of the Q&A, and I think we've answered all of your live questions. We've got lots of answers in the Q&A bar there. So if you want to know anything more about careers as a hydrogeologist or a geophysicist, have a look at the answer bar there. But in ending off, I'm going to pass it over to Sershan Naika, who is from the School Liaison Office, to have a vote of thanks and to conclude this Zoom webinar and this Paleo Sciences, Geosciences virtual experience. So over to you, Sershan, and thank you all for watching.
Thank you very much, Grant. So good afternoon to the colleagues, learners and parents. So I'm not just sure if you guys can see my video. Okay, I think you can, so that's great. So yeah, once again, just good afternoon to the colleagues, learners and parents that have joined. Please don't panic if your question wasn't answered during this online session. I think most of them or all of them have been. The School of Geosciences and Paleosciences will be following up on these questions and will try their level best to get you answers post the event. I would like to thank the heads of school, Prof. Joel Drennan, as well as the ESI Director, Marion Bamford, for their inspirational words here today. I would also like to thank the school for hosting this virtual focus day. Thank you to Glenn Nawala for emceeing the event and for Grant Bybee for fielding the questions. Also, all the academics for their support and participation, as well as administrative and service departments that have helped put this event together. We would also like to thank any parents that have joined us here today and who are encouraging, motivating, and ensuring that their learners are on top of all of the information here this afternoon. But most importantly, we'd like to thank you, our applicants, and hopefully future Witses, and hopefully Geosciences and Paleosciences students. We hope that you've enjoyed the event. But before I end, I'm going to digress for a minute, and I'm going to talk about time travel. And I'm going to disagree with our new incoming Vice Chancellor, Prof. Vilakazi, as he has said that time travel isn't possible. And I'm heading into dangerous territory right now, and I'm going to do this for you. And I'm going to say it is possible. But I'm not going to debate Einstein, Newton, or the world of quantum. I want you to visualize with me for a minute right now, 6 months or just less than 6 months into the future, you open that email and it says, congratulations, you've been made an offer to come and study at Wits in 2021. You start your journey in this brilliant city of gold, the heartbeat of the African continent, with its financial and industrial hubs, cutting-edge contemporary galleries, urban precincts, funky restaurants, cafes, and art studios. You're sitting in the lecture halls where Nelson Mandela, Robert Sobukwe, Patrice Motsepe, and Thuli Madonsela once sat. You're in the dissection halls where Prof. Philip Tobias and Prof. Sidney Brenner once started their medical journeys. You're on the stages where Claire Johnston and Johnny Clegg once honed their musical skills. You're here already on the steps of the famous Great Hall, surrounded by some of the most incredible young minds of your generation, but only because you didn't let this pandemic defeat you. Time travel is possible, and you don't need a time machine either. All you need is hard work, dedication, and perseverance. The future is yours. Make it happen. The School of Geosciences and Paleosciences looks forward to welcoming you here next year. Thank you.